this is important because we're going to start with a reading of an article, and it would be nice to have the sound right.
That would be nice, wouldn't
That would
it?
be really great.
It would be good. It would be good. A
Okay,
good
thank you,
start.
Johnny. So you can hear both of us? He's saying that he can hear us hear well, but it wasn't clear if it was both of us. Oh, yes, thumbs up. Thank you, Johnny. Really appreciate that. Johnny is the author of The Mandela Dilemma, and he has
Oh,
a
cool.
Substack, and we will be interviewing next month, and that is a heck of a book that I highly recommend. So thank you for being here, Johnny.
Yeah, great. So I'll have to connect with you, Johnny. That sounds really fascinating.
Yeah, it really provides a very interesting, compelling model for how we see reality being manipulated kind of behind the scenes. It's very fascinating.
Yeah.
All right. We this is the second time that Emma and I have spoken. We had an interview towards the end of last year. I'm already saying last year. It seems like it was so long ago. January has been forever. I just posted a meme that people liked the other day, and it was the first 75 years of January are the hardest.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you're in the States, it's my God. I'm not in the States, but yeah, there's a lot happening right now.
Absolutely, absolutely, and maybe we'll get into a little bit of that in looking at
Yeah, definitely. I think
your
it's
new
related.
article.
It's relevant.
It's so relevant. I was definitely thinking about your work and processing some of the news feed these days, which I don't do a lot of. So I wanted to thank everybody for being here. It really means a lot to me that you're using your precious time and attention in this capacity. That's fantastic. I'm joined by Emma Lyons of Trauma Matrix. So if you haven't subscribed to her channel, it's traumamatrix.substack.com. And it is an amazing channel that is really just getting started. I feel, I feel that there's a big explosion of content that's going to happen over the next. I don't know. You tell me if I'm wrong, but it just seems like
No,
we're
no, I
getting
have like a
going.
book of information here that I'm kind of putting out in little articles. But yeah, I have a whole system of to put lay down, and it's when I started thinking about this, I started uncovering it. It's like it becomes so obvious. You're like, why are more people not seeing this? It's so obvious when you see it. That's my
Oh,
experience.
I agree with you totally. So if you need to catch up with this conversation, our first interview is on my Substack. It's called Dismantling the Biggest Weapon of Mass Distraction in Western Civilization. And it's about shame and its legacy and the way it's implemented and that kind of thing. So it's very, very cool. I mean, I say cool. It's disconcerting in some ways, but it's also very empowering material. And then after that interview, Emma and I co-wrote this article that was published on January 21st. And it's on my Substack. It's called "The Name of the Game is Shame: How to Win by Not Playing," and it's subtitled "Transforming the Nightmare into a Dream Worth Living." And I'm assuming Emma will eventually post it on her her Substack as well, which is fine with me. So that
Yeah, I need to
it'll be
I
available
need
on
to do that. I thought it happened. This is how new I am to Substack. I don't didn't I thought that happened automatically when you co-wrote something, but clearly not. I have a
Well,
lot to
what
learn.
happens is it is a really good question. Is that you're shown as the co-author in the credits up at the top and at the bottom, but it doesn't
Okay.
automatically, and it will show up as a repost if you repost it. But if you want to publish it, you actually have to publish it and format it and all that kind of thing for your
Okay.
channel.
Well, I will do that for sure.
Absolutely. So you can look on traumamatrix.substack.com or solluckman.substack.com for that article. And we thought we would simply kick off today with a reading of it. That maybe if it's a decent little recording, I will work with and create a little video for or something like that that we could share around as well. But that will give everyone here the latest context in terms of this model of shame and narcissism and the inner narcissist that Emma has been developing. And then we will be talking about her latest article, which is a kind of offshoot of this discussion that is very fascinating, very amazing. It's called "Shame is the Operating System," and we'll get into that, and we'll kind of gear our discussion around that. And that is over on her Substack. Again, "Shame is the Operating System" is the name of the article that was published on January 17th. So that's where we are. So I guess without further ado, we're going to read. We'll alternate going back and forth between little sections. We're going to read. The name of the game is Shame: How to Win by Not Playing, by Emma Lyons and Sol Luckman. We live in a narcissistic world, not metaphorically, literally, and the name of its game is shame.
Everywhere we turn, relationships, families, workplaces, media, even our own hearts and minds, emotional energy rooted in shame is the real currency of the game board. Attention is what powers the shame game of the control grid. Most of us start out, much like in The Matrix, as little more than batteries, charging a system we barely notice, let alone understand. Some call this raw emotional energy louche. Controversial? Perhaps. Useful? Absolutely.
This term conveys an old concept in a new way. A vital force we intuitively sense is harvested daily. The system doesn't care whether we interpret this energy as good or bad. Desire, outrage, longing, worship, despair, any highly charged emotion is motion, fueling the machine's attachment roulette wheel. The same dynamics appear in narcissistic relationships and broader societal systems. The rules of the game are simple. Attention is supply, shame is fuel, and our reactions, born from an unconscious need to protect ourselves in an unsafe space, activate the grid.
The mental parasite that consumes this energy is installed via family systems, trauma, conditioning, and social rules, all deeply coded with shame. This is true whether we frame this artificial sense of not being good enough as the sin of eating the forbidden fruit or the karma of being born. But shame can't exist in isolation. It survives because we feed it, often unconsciously, following rules from childhood to be good and do the right thing. The idea that shame is one of the most effective and debilitating lies ever told.
The nightmare we prop up and live inside. Toxic families, controlling partners, soul sucking workplaces, and social media outrage cycles are all expressions of the larger shame based game or dream of reality. This reality dream, whether called a simulation, holographic universe, or collective consciousness, is structured to harvest attention and emotional energy. The hunger for reactivity is a reflex we share unless we learn to disengage. The system doesn't care if we are outraged, admiring, compliant, or rebellious. Only our energy matters. Every reaction, defending, justifying, exposing, doxing, lights up the shame grid as it becomes a transaction.
Visualize it, an energy dependent machine humming invisibly in the background, interfaced with your experience through countless shame channels on the complex game board of the dream. Every spiral into self criticism, every defense explanation, every wrong move finances this parasitic system. Shame isn't processable like other emotions. Where shame is concerned, we have only two options: internalize it as self attack, or externalize it as aggression toward another. Both fuel the nightmare. The more shame we pour into the bonfire of the vanities that is our narcissistic reality, the more the nightmare inflames.
Reactivity isn't rebellion. Defending yourself or confronting abuse often feels righteous. But reaction, as opposed to conscious response, is never truly rebellious or virtuous. Reaction is always already overreaction. Explaining your life, proving moral high ground, exposing the guilty, every such act generates windfalls of loosh for the larger control game we're unconsciously playing into.
The circular panopticon persists because we traumatize others as we were traumatized, having been indoctrinated with the corrosive notion that a little shame for their own good never hurts anyone. Shame trained individuals may believe shaming proves integrity, but it doesn't. It drains energy, narrows cognition, and erodes freedom. This is its purpose. The internal narcissist. Before dismantling external systems, we must confront the narcissistic structures inside us. Trauma and social conditioning have installed a dictator within, the inner narcissist. It manifests as self criticism, perfectionism, appeasing, or imposter syndrome. This engine isn't our true self. While it runs the game show, free thinking and authenticity are impossible.
Shame isn't neutral. Contrary to conventional wisdom, there's no need to use shame to develop morality or empathy. Shame collapses identity and recruits compliant silence. Even well intentioned healing can feed wider shaming systems if we fail to recognize the parasite. How internal and external systems mirror each other. The inner narcissist mirrors external systems. Manipulative shame voices predictably trigger reactions. External narcissists and social systems feed off these managed patterns. This is how the game is played. A single text, comment, or post can light up networks of personal and collective shame harvesting. The house, as the saying goes, always wins. That is, until we put a stop to it. Without conscious recognition, we remain complicit, replaying old scripts with partners, colleagues, and friends. Trauma freezes energy in the body, limiting authentic response. Shame trains us to outsource conscience, making us predictable and manipulable. While it may change behavior superficially in the moment, shame kills learning, integration, and empathy.
Exposure feels dangerous. Attack feels like self defense. This pattern repeats across history, from interpersonal abuse to systemic oppression. In short, the shame game is rigged. The invitation: reclaim your energy. Fortunately, this situation isn't just about suffering, it's also an invitation. Freedom begins by refusing to engage the shame game. Begin inward, recognize the inner narcissist, name the shame voice, and refuse to feed it. Practical reclamation steps. Notice the feed. Track moments when your nervous system spikes. Which people, messages, or habits generate compulsive reactions? Recognize the inner narcissist. Name the controlling engine dictating self criticism, over explaining, or appeasing. Stop feeding it. Withdraw attention from drama. Stop reacting impulsively. Break projection cycles. Notice when shame turns inward or outward. Pause, breathe, reclaim the energy, reclaim autonomy. Choose consciously where your energy flows. Stop unnecessary explanations. Regulate the nervous system. Grounding, meditation, movement, breath work, and energy work are tools. Stabilize your system to reduce predictability and fuel the nightmare and fuel for the nightmare.
Simply ignoring the inner narcissist isn't a solution. It leaves us vulnerable, perpetuating trauma, burnout, and loss of autonomy. Every unexamined reaction strengthens the system for the next generation. Waking up means non participation. Revolution is internal. Boundaries, silence, and conscious withdrawal are radical acts. The narcissistic game collapses without an audience. Social media outrage cycles, politics, and culture wars rely on predictable human reactions. Non participation is the path to sovereignty.
Striking back only strengthens the house rules. True awakening means refusing to fuel the nightmare and reclaiming your power. Healing, autonomy, and freedom begin within. Stop supplying energy to the system, starve it, exit the game board, and reclaim yourself. Open the doors of perception and understand there's no hidden villain, only a parasitic structure thriving on unexamined energy. Awakening isn't about escaping the dream. All is a dream, potentially lucid. All is a form of play, forever ludic. From this empowering perspective, awakening starts with refusing to fuel the nightmare and learning to transform it into a better dream, one actually worth playing.
All right. Preach. Good stuff. Now, I wanted to let everybody know we do have this wellness tool that we put together this last week that will be downloadable at the end of this chat. I'll give you the link in the chat room, so you'll be able to go to an unpublished article on my Substack and download this free PDF. And it's a really, really great tool that solidifies a lot of these concepts and gives you some actionable points.
Yeah, it's like a cheat sheet. So definitely check it out.
All right, my goodness, that's a load. Just hearing it out loud like that is really, really very energizing in a way.
Yeah.
I wanted to take us over to shame as the operating system. And
Yes.
I really liked how you started this article, and I'll just share this if you don't mind. I deleted my comment, not because I was wrong. I deleted it because my phone wouldn't stop vibrating. Notifications stacked faster than I could read them. Strangers attacking me, ad hominem, moral outrage, thinly veiled threats. Who do you think you are? All because I asked a question. And so you said that, this was all because I questioned this cheerleading narrative. And then this isn't a glitch in the system. This is the system.
Yeah.
So was that a true story?
Absolutely. 100%. It's happened to me more than once. So yeah, it's a true story.
Yeah, yeah, I thought it was. Fiction is okay, but it really felt like you've been there, done that.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably happened to lots of people, especially now. I mean, if you comment anything on social media, people are right there. They don't agree with you. Their first defense is to attack you, and that's a shame response.
Absolutely. I mean, you get into that so beautifully. In this article, you talk about how the the that response is used in a variety of different ways and in a variety of different contexts, but it's all back to shame.
Yes. Shame is the substrate of so much dysfunction in our society and also within individuals, within us and individuals. I've been on podcasts about bulimia, anorexia, addictions, so many things. Shame is really the common denominator because shame is not a normal emotion. Shame is an identity level self attack that's promoted as some in our culture really strongly. This idea of no pain, no gain. You've got to attack yourself in order to get better. And actually, the reverse is true. When you attack yourself, you become defensive, you become angry, you become reactive. You go into your shell or you attack the other person to defend yourself because shame puts you into survival mode like nothing else. Like nothing else. Not even fear comes close, in my opinion. Shame is another level because it's attacking yourself. It's basically, shame is basically telling yourself, there's something wrong with me. I need to be erased. That's what shame is. It teaches to stop being who you are. And we're taught that self-rejection is good for you. A little bit of it, it's even in our language. You have no shame. You need a bit more shame in order to be a good person. Are you shameless? It's reinforced everywhere that you need shame. And the actual opposite is true. And this isn't just, if you look at the statistics, that it doesn't stack up. Shame doesn't help people get better. It's got our society to where it is. The experiment has failed, as I say at the end of that essay.
Yes, yes. Oh, I couldn't agree more. I have a little story. So
Go ahead.
years ago, I was really ill, and I was trying to get well. And one of the things I was doing to try to get well was various kinds of energy work. And I became a kind of wounded healer at the time. A lot of Chiron in my chart. And
Snap.
I was working with a lot of people who had all kinds of different autoimmune illnesses, problems, allergies, but also emotional imbalances, that kind of thing. And, I was able to help some of them, thank goodness. I also spent a lot of time kinesiologically testing these clients, and it ended up being, hundreds of clients and thousands of tests, and I was recording all of the data that I uncovered. And
Hmm.
the oddest piece out of all of it, and there were many odd pieces, probably the single oddest aspect was that the second chakra, if you wanted to look at that area of the body, or the
Yeah.
second field of the aura, they're sort of the same thing. One is, they interconnect. So that intersection, which I call an ecosystem in my work in regenetics,
Yes.
that is connected physically to the mouth, to the oral system, and to the reproductive system.
Yeah.
Every chakra also is connected in this model to emotions. And guess what dominant emotion shows up in the second chakra for every single living human being that I've ever worked with?
Shame, 100%.
100%. The other aspect of it is that many of the indices that I picked up on in the testing indicated that chakra itself, which I ended up calling the fragmentary body, is not
Mhm.
natural. It is an installation. It is an energy drain installed in our physiology that allows the parasite to get at us.
Yeah.
Literally the signature for both real parasites, physical parasites, and etheric parasites, to use a term, they both attach to the fragmentary body in the second chakra.
Yeah.
So what I realized was we were walking around being completely vulnerable to these kinds of psychic attacks. And when I say that, I extend that to the media and to our relationships and to narcissists that we encounter, to the inner narcissist, etc. We're very, very susceptible to that, and it is the key to draining our vital force. And it's why people like
Mhm.
Castaneda have said you really should have a big energy field around you, but most people walk around and their energy is down around their toes. It's
Mhm.
almost gone because it's being
Yeah.
fed on.
Yeah.
And then to finish the story, my partner Lee and I discovered that it's possible to use sound and thought to seal this fragmentary body, to actually seal this disruption, this energy leak in the field. And when you do that, it begins to clear out your shame responses, and your self-worth and your energy and your vitality begin to increase, and it's a natural thing that happens just by doing this energy work.
So cool.
So it's very interesting to be able to pair that with your break model, which be happy for you to go through that with people, because it's also, I think, in the documentation that we're going to share with people,
Mm.
the PDF. But it's really cool when you actually have a psychological tool to deal with present shame when it's happening in real time. That's also extremely powerful. So you can work on your energy and work on fortifying yourself, but you can also have a tool that lets you navigate difficult circumstances in the here and now.
Yeah, 100%. So I've been having shame attacks since I was a child, basically. I call it a shame attack. It's basically, shame hijacks your system and you feel, oh my God, I'm so terrible, or there's something wrong with me. You basically just attack yourself. Shame is not a normal emotion. It's like self-disgust, anger turned inwards. It's a bunch of different things. And this belief there's something wrong with me, it's kind of downstream from that. So this is what to do if the shame attack starts to happen. You've got to, first of all, and this is really key, recognize that shame, and you have to get it into your body, into your nervous system. Recognize that shame is never helpful. That's really key because the thing that keeps us hooked into shame is this belief that we're kind of holding that's in the field that we need a bit of shame in order to be better. In order to get better, you need to shame yourself. No pain, no gain. All that BS. So when it comes along, you've got to break. B.R.E.A.K. So the first one is B. That means to break the trance. Like recognize that this is a trance that we're all walking around over this collective trance that we need to shame ourselves into submission. So recognize you don't discuss yourself way out of a trance. You just wake up from it. You just break that, name it, and release it. Then you refuse to engage, and that's R. So normally when this along and says you're useless or you're a failure or you might as well not be here, whatever it says. I've had all the shame voice, the inner narcissist has said all this stuff to me, by the way. So what you do is refuse to engage with it, and this is where a lot of people go wrong. We take it to therapy, we send it love, we start engaging with it and talking to it, and just like a narcissist, it gets narcissistic supply from that. So you've got to refuse to engage. Don't defend, don't engage, don't explain, and don't personalize. Just say, no, it's not happening. Because, just like the narcissist out there, you're giving it supply, it feeds off that. Then you want to expose the lie. So recognize whatever it's saying, you're stupid or you're ugly or you've got a big ass. Big compared to what? Like this is expose that lie. It's a lie. There is no empirical evidence of that. So just expose the lie. It's always shame is always, always, always about control. When the inner narcissist does it to yourself, it's trying to control you. When the narcissist outside is trying to shame you, it's trying to control you as well. So recognize it for what it is. Then you need to come back to your body. So really anchored in your body. Come back to your breath because, like I said, shame it takes you out of your body like nothing else. So you come back to a breath, feel your feet, just take shake your feet, move yourself, come back anchored in your body, and then K is kick it out. And that means physically shake it out of your body and let it go. And so I have to tell you, I've been getting feedback from people who I've never even spoken to in personal, who have followed this system and have said that it has changed their lives. People who, like me, were scapegoated, were chronically stuck in shame. This has been the key, and really this awareness that shame is not helpful, not ever. Shame is the virus that is destroying us individually and really messing up our culture. And we can talk about that as well, Saul, because shame is what's wrong with the world. And the more I see this, the more I can't unsee it. And I'm like, why are more people not seeing it? It's so systemic. But we've got to start breaking the addiction within ourselves first, because while we are carrying shame in ourselves individually, we have no hope of building systems. We're just going to keep recreating another system and that's templated on shame. And this is what's happening. This is why revolutions, communism. I was in Cuba recently. Communism is a great idea, but it's another narcissistic system that's also shame based. It's supposed to be the polar opposite of capitalism, but actually they're more like twins when
Mm.
you look at it in that perspective. They're all about control, keeping people down, and it's just the other side of the flip side of the coin. So we need to remove it from ourselves first, free ourselves from our individualized shame first, before we have any hope of changing the system.
I completely agree, and I know your system. Speaking of systems, your system absolutely works. It's effective. I've used it when I've had stuff come up for me, and I know other people who have. So,
Yeah.
no, there's no doubt in my mind that it works. It's very effective, and it basically it's similar to what I've been saying for years. That you just have to walk away. You can't really fix the matrix. You just have to
No.
walk away from it. You
Yeah.
basically reject it.
And this is the thing, like the conventional wisdom, psychotherapy, all of this, they talk about healthy shame. There is no healthy shame. What they call healthy shame is really sloppy framing, because the shame is never healthy. Shame is always self-attack. That's we don't need self-attack, internal condemnation, or self-surveillance to become better. What we do need is relational regulation. Look at animals, birds flying together. I live with dogs at the moment. They had a fight the other day. You know, they don't experience shame, but the dog that was biting the other. The next a few minutes later or after the fight, they were licking the ear. So relational repair. We don't need shame. We need less shame. Shame does not help us break out of it. It creates and recreates the cycle. And just like with the narcissist out there in the world, when we engage with it, when we try to take it to therapy, it's a disaster. It doesn't work. So we've got to stop with this model that's in spirituality and everywhere. Send love to this parasite thing. Send love to this internalized narcissist that we all have living rent free inside our head. That just feeds it. It just feeds off that and gets more powerful. You may get temporary relief. And that was my experience, because I've done so much healing in my life and so much therapy. And nothing worked until I started to look at the shame and name the shame for what it is. And this is the other thing. Even spiritual people, nobody wants to talk about shame. Shame is a dirty word, because shame, it triggers shame. Nobody wants to talk about it. We want to hide from it. We talk about worthiness issues instead, which is the positive thing of shame. But, if you're just bringing in worthiness without addressing the underlying shame, you're putting a band-aid on a bullet wound. You've got to address the underlying shame first in order for any kind of real progression to happen. We need to talk about shame. We need to bring it out in the light, because shame thrives in the darkness. And this is what Brene Brown, who I disagree with in some things, because she says that you need shame. And this is a really common one as well that everyone says. Therapists tell people this. Brene Brown says it, that you need shame. Shame is a moral compass. If you don't experience shame, something is wrong with you. This is such a lie. It's such a lie. And the reason why they say it, they're not being bad people. They're just inside the cage of shame and thinking they're teaching people how to get comfortable with shame rather than to open the fucking door and step outside. We don't have to live with shame. We don't have to send love to it, decorate the cage. When we're in shame, when we're living with shame, it's like we've got a straitjacket on, and therapeutic and spirituality will just have us putting pearls on that straitjacket rather than taking the thing off. And we've got to reject shame, because shame is never useful. It's always toxic. Brene Brown says that if you don't experience shame, you would be a psychopath. That's false. Psychopaths don't experience shame, but that's not their problem. The problem is they don't experience shame because they have no capacity for empathy. If we look at narcissists, on the other hand, and we have an epidemic of narcissists in the world right now, I think you'd agree, Saul. And the reason why we Oh my God, yeah. The reason why is the whole template of our culture is built on narcissistic systems. We're glorifying narcissists. The whole system is narcissistic fractals. So of course that's gonna create narcissistic individuals. And narcissists, their whole identity is built on repressed shame. This is why someone like Donald Trump or any narcissist you might meet, when somebody mocks them, they get defensive. They go on the attack. Somebody mocks their dancing or what they're doing. They want to attack them. They want to remove that thing because it triggers their repressed shame. A psychopath won't care. A psychopath won't care. You can do what you like. That will not affect them. So the real problem is a lack of empathy with psychopaths. It's not a lack of shame, but so many psychopaths, so many psychotherapists, and the whole therapeutic model is built on this lie that there is such a thing, that we need shame in order to be good, and it's a lie. There's
I
shame.
agree with you. I wanted to ask you in relation to what you're saying, how you feel about I think it's Joseph Burgo, Dr. Burgos. He has a book, Shame, Free Yourself, Find Joy, Build True Self-Esteem, something like that. And he talks about core shame and almost like this
Yeah.
healable level of shame. What do you think about that kind of scientific approach to the subject?
Well, I mean, I definitely had core shame. My whole identity was built around this idea that I was defective or bad, ugly, stupid, something's wrong with me, the whole 9 yards. But there is a way out of it. I don't believe that we're stuck with it. And I'm evidence of that. People who have gone through my process, the people have told me this has been life changing for them. And I'm the only person that I've heard that's saying this so openly. And really identifying this piece as a narcissist has been really transformational for me, because for most of my life, I was trying to pacify this thing. I was trying to send it love and take it to therapy and do energy work and make it slightly better. And that I just was taking one step forward, two steps back constantly, until I addressed this deeper level. I really feel this is the missing piece for so many people who are stuck in looping patterns. And this includes addictions. I've been on podcasts about addictions and or even things like bulimia. And shame is the common denominator. Shame is the root cause. These are just different symptoms, the way that shame plays out. And shame plays out differently in each individual. For some people, it will manifest itself as narcissism. For some people, it will manifest as, self-attack. For other people, it will be like attacking everyone else and racism, whatever it is. So there are so many, and also like disease, addiction, cocaine addiction, alcohol addiction, all addictions. The root of it is shame, and this is why you have dry drunks, people who stop doing the cocaine or whatever it is, but they still feel the urge to drink. They have to be really careful with themselves because the shame is still there, looking for a way to kind of tap itself over. And this is the thing, when we drink or something, I come from Ireland, so we have a huge drinking culture, and it's also a very deeply shaming culture, and shame is a huge part of the culture. We shame each other, we slag each other off. So shame is a really big part of Irish culture, I think, but we don't want to talk about it. And we pull each other down when they start getting too big for their boots. So shame is really the substrate of so much. There isn't one dysfunction that I can think of that where shame is not on some level there, on some level present. All addictions. I
Yes.
don't. If anyone's watched that film, watch that film, The Substance. That's about shame. That's about shame. That they don't name it in the movie, but watch it through that lens. You'll
The
see this is
substance.
shame. The Substance, yeah, with Demi Moore. It's shame. Shame is a killer. Shame makes you kill yourself. That's what shame says. Might as well not be here, you know. So I don't believe that people would commit suicide without shame. I don't believe it. I've felt suicidal for a lot of my life, and the driving
Mm.
force was shame. No matter how bad things get in your life, no matter how desperate things get, you need that, like the inner narcissist that says, you might as well not be here. Nobody would care if you weren't here, in order for you to take that drastic action. So that's where shame ultimately leads. You can't process your way out of shame, because shame, it's not normal emotion. Look at anger. Anger, if somebody's crossing my boundary, I need to say stop. And that's very healthy. Okay, anger can get out of control and become very, but anger has a positive function. Shame has no positive function whatsoever, other than to make you controllable and manageable by someone else, or by our sick, narcissistic, shame infused culture.
So
So,
to back up what you're saying,
yeah,
what I focus on a lot of times in this type of worldview is how we got here and how it was recorded that we got here. And I think the one of the most compelling ancient stories is of the Garden of Eden.
yes, I've identified the same thing. So
Yeah, so
yeah,
that apple that is given to eat, where we get knowledge. The way I interpret that, for example, in my recent book, Get Out of Here Alive, is that what is being presented there is the parasite's operating system. The
yeah,
mind of the
shame,
parasite is being given to Eve, who
yeah.
takes it and eats of it, and then that uploads the apple. It's funny that it's an apple and we have Apple Computer and all of that. That's just a joke, really. One of the jokes of the Mandela affected reality. Shout out Johnny Flynn. And so what we're dealing with is this unnatural operating system that we've been given to be controllable on the one hand, to be networked to into the hive mind, where shame is used as the whip that keeps us in line, all of that. There's another side to it, because I feel that at the very same time, it is this poison that we've been given that is also this prompt for a lot of people to begin returning to sovereignty and authenticity, to begin healing their lives, evolving consciously, and becoming more than perhaps they thought they could be. And this is where, when I get into discussions about the nature of this parasite that I also call the dragon,
Yeah.
it's not just negative. It's also like a tough love teacher giving us a problem that we have to solve in order to go to the next level of our awareness. And that's another thing that people have a very hard time with. They want they want to be able to say, this is cut and dry, this is black and white, good and evil, that thing is evil, purely so. And I disagree with that fundamentally, because I don't see that informing the deeper workings of the matrix, which seems to be as a kind of prompt for the sleepyheads out there to turn into Neo.
Exactly. This is your wake up call, guys. Shame is the virus, and you can get it out. You escape. It's the trauma matrix that I talk about. It's really the coding system for it is shame. The reason why you're controllable and why you control yourself and hold yourself back. All self sabotage is shame. Procrastination, all of these things. Imposter syndrome, the ultimate one, people love talking about. They don't call it shame, they call it imposter syndrome. That's shame with better PR. And all of these things, they're fueled by shame. They are shame at the root. And until we address that underlying root, it's going to keep coming back. It might feel a little bit better for the moment. You might get some temporary relief, and even within spiritual circles, there's shaming still goes on. Shaming is rampant everywhere. Coaches use shame, healers use shame. It's so prevalent. It's so normalized. It's
It's almost institutionalized in parenting.
oh, absolutely, 100%. That is the word, Saul. It's institutionalized. It's normalized. And it's 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 engineered. It's like fire is natural and napalm is engineered. It's insidious. It serves power. Shame is the same thing. Shame is a parasite on top of our relational recognition, signaling, ability to repair. Shame is artificial. We don't need it.
I love this. I'm back to your article, this, that we were discussing. Shame, this is fantastic. I'm gonna read a little bit because it's just too good, so bear with me. You don't opt out by choosing a better political team. You opt out by dismantling shame in your own nervous system. Because until that happens, every value you hold will eventually be used as a weapon. Every system you support will replicate the same dynamics. Every movement will rot from the same center. This is why the work is personal before it is political. Not because the world doesn't matter, but because the world is a fractal of us. That's
Yes.
beautiful. That's like poetry.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's a reflection of us. And when you attack yourself, when you shame yourself, you are not being virtuous. You are participating in the shame cycle. You're feeding it, not just on a personal level, but fractally out there, and you're feeding that shame cycle. So we all have an obligation, really, to do this inner work to free ourselves from shame. That's how the world is going to change. We got to stop trying to change the things out there because while we're operating from shame, as I said before, we're just going to keep recreating the same system with a different mask, the same shame fueled system with a different mask. Look at communism. Look at all of them are the same. They're all operating from shame because and they all don't work. They all end up being twins of each other. So, this is why revolutions end up eating themselves. It's a great idea. Let's create a new thing. Let's get rid of the bad people and get ourselves in power and become the revolutionaries. And then suddenly the revolutionaries are in power and they become despotic. This doesn't just happen once or twice. It happens again and again. Why? Because we're just replacing one shame system with another one and thinking that it's going to be better. It doesn't work like that, unfortunately. We've got to exorcise the shame from within ourselves before we have any hope of creating something different and creating that new world, because it is a fractal, it is a reflection. Life is a reflection of you. And while I was walking around most of my life in shame, I kept on finding reasons to shame myself more. And it kept me small, it kept me disempowered, it kept me stuck, it kept me out of my genius. So I had to step away from the shame in order to come up with this idea, in order to create this system. I had to free myself first, and I continue to free myself. It's not like a one and done thing. It's a process, and I talk about that in my articles. There's so many little kind of there are the shame attacks, which I don't have anymore, which I haven't had in a while, rather. But shame also shows up in different ways, like when you don't say the thing, when you don't say I don't understand. Can you repeat Can you repeat what you just said? Because you're afraid of humiliation, where you're afraid to enter the room, you're afraid to be seen. These are all different manifestations of shame. So shame is really insidious. And I continue to free myself more and more of shame. And I really hope that people watching this live will be inspired to take that step and do the same thing. Because without us freeing ourselves individually, we have no hope as a collective.
So when we look at the current political environment, really
Mm,
across the world, but certainly
yeah,
in the United States and in much of the West,
mm,
we have this left versus right dynamic, and so it's a
yeah,
kind of bipolar situation that we find ourselves in. And I understand on the one hand why leftists don't like people on the right, and I understand why people on the right don't like leftists in some ways. I can rationally see the point of view, but what I have a because the people are kind of different, and they see they have different goals, different values, different ethics. I can understand why there might be a difficulty in coming together, but it is so dramatic, so weaponized, so nuclear, from the inside out. Clearly, there's something driving it. I know that thing is shame. We've been talking about that.
yeah,
What I find difficult to understand is how difficult it is for people involved in these shame dynamics to see it.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
very, very bizarre how hidden in plain sight it is, and I mean well hidden in plain sight.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so obvious once you see it, you can't unsee it. These are reproductions of family systems. In within dysfunctional and narcissistic families, we have children who take on different roles, and most families are dysfunctional, particularly in the Western world. So we have someone's selected as the scapegoat, the golden child, and you see that fractal outwards into the collective. The golden child in the United States, these are the kind of whites, the top, the elites or whatever, the people who consider themselves better than the whole culture. For example, using the United States as the model here, it's not every culture has the same kind of thing going on, the same kind of narcissistic system playing out. So what you have in the United States, for example, the culture is built on all this shameful things that have happened in the past, genocide, slavery, so many things. All that shame is covered up, pushed, it's repressed. We don't want to look at it. We don't want to see it. So what do? We find a scapegoat. Currently, it's the immigrants. So the immigrants, we don't want to, starting to feel this shame. It feels very uncomfortable. So it's their fault. What do? We destroy the scapegoat. We try to destroy the scapegoat. This happens on a personal level as well, but it's also happening on the collective. So we try to destroy, to eliminate the scapegoat so that we don't experience, in a way to, in a futile effort to erase our shame. But obviously that doesn't work. That doesn't work on the individual level or the collective level. It's because it's just reinforcing. We're acting out more of these shameful actions it's gonna actually lead to more shame in the longer term. So, but we do that individually.
Of course.
Women, we see a woman who's got a nice body. I feel shame because my body isn't as nice as hers. So what do? I shame her in order to feel better about myself.
Mm.
This is classic narcissistic strategy that we all use, often unconsciously, to be honest. And it's the fuel for kind of jealousy, all these things. And we all do. We've got to stop doing it ourselves individually before society has any hope. And that's really it. It's so simple. It's so simple, but it's so patterned into us because we've been living out this shame cycle collectively now for thousands of years. So
It
it's
always
really
goes in
deeply
circles
ingrained.
too. This is what I wanted to say about the immigrants, for example. The pattern in this country, it certainly is as an example of what goes on in many places, is that there seems to be this tendency for the discriminated against to eventually get a modicum of power. And when they do,
Yes,
then they re-discriminate against their former
absolutely.
oppressors, and it goes in
Yes.
circles forever and ever and ever.
Mhm.
And you could look
Yeah.
at this in terms of race, you could talk about gender, you could talk about sexuality, you could talk about wealth inequality. It
Yeah.
always happens.
Absolutely. And that is the shame cycle extraordinaire, because if a group has been collectively shamed, we want to feel better about ourselves, so we need to shame the other person to make ourselves feel bigger and better. So we shame the other. And that's why othering, when we're recreating these hierarchical and narcissistic systems. And obviously we do that because we're all operating from shame. So like I said, we're doomed to keep recreating. The revolution is not gonna create any meaningful change. We're just gonna recreate another narcissistic system eventually. And we're going to be shaming other people because we're carrying all this shame from being oppressed, and we need to attack them in order to feel better about ourselves.
Hmm. Well said. Well said. I'm glad you see that same dynamic because it's very troubling because it makes
Yeah.
you feel that there is no solution within the system, and that's where most
No,
people are looking for the
no.
solution. And, this has led me in my own work to say over and over again that the only way out is in. And
Yeah.
what I mean by that, at least to start with, is to go inward to heal what ails you and to reclaim your power.
Yeah. To reclaim your
If you don't do
genius.
that, then
Yeah.
you will only fuel the system by interacting with it, and that is the loosh farm, that is the game board, that is the
Yeah.
matrix, that is the reality construct that we're living in. So we have to actually get out of it. And if we choose to stay in it, from an alchemist perspective, there's the goal to like fly the coop, get out of here, move on to the next dream. But if you're going to stay here, then you need to do so from an empowered perspective, or else you're just going to make the world even worse, more of an inferno.
Yeah. And, shame, self-attack, it disguises yourself. I'm just being honest. I'm just speaking the truth. This is a disguise, Shame, it wears a lot of sneaky disguises. But when we start shaming ourselves or shaming others, we're creating another hierarchy. That's another narcissistic system that's doomed to play out the same doomed cycles that we've been living for the last 2000 years in human society.
Absolutely, absolutely. I saw this really great meme today, and it was some kind of intellectual looking figure on the left, kind of a caricature, and it says, "Debate me, debate me, debate me if you care about truth." And this other person, kind of meditating in a river, says, "There is nothing to be gained from entering resentful relations with hostile online strangers. It changes no hearts and wastes energy that could be used to create art."
Yeah, I love them.
Mm, yeah,
And that's why we don't you don't engage with, people who are determined to misunderstand you. And this is a thing that well, I've done it, you start engaging with the bots or the people who are convinced that they're right and you're wrong online. You're not going to change their mind, guys. You're not. It's they're convicted to being right and you're wrong. And that's because they're operating out of shame. I know it sounds really simplistic when I say it. Everyone will be like, "Oh, shame is always the answer." But I'm not saying shame is the only thing on there, but it's a huge part of the substrate. And also things like the most horrifying things that humans have done, like genocide, pogroms, they would not happen if it weren't for shame. I'm not saying shame is the only thing driving them, but shame is a huge part.
yeah. I'm convinced that it is the real driver here, and I'm convinced
Yeah.
about that from my energy work and finding it at this crucial part of the body that's related to our vocal expression as well as our sexual expression, and then finding that again and the whole kind of apple mythology, the garden, and understanding the nature of this parasite, this demiurge or Lord Archon, Satan, the devil, or even like the Old Testament God, because it's the same being, people. It's the same force that wants to destroy civilizations and nuke whole cities and that kind of thing. It's really sobering when you come to the realization that there is this spiritual adversary, and it's perhaps even more disturbing when you realize that the other part of the identity of that spiritual adversary is to be our teacher in some bizarre way.
Yeah, and it's really in a lot of the Bible, especially in the Old Testament, God is really presented as narcissistic,
Absolutely,
grandiose, attacking. You don't agree with me, I'm going to kill you, and collective punishment, all these things.
100%,
But
100%.
Jesus, guys, Jesus did not teach shame. Jesus didn't shame anyone. Jesus didn't shame anyone. He didn't even shame people when they attacked him. He never taught that. This came later. This came from people who were trying to control us and keep us down. And really, the most insidious form of shame that I see, this individualized form of shame, as I call it, this idea that I'm bad just because I exist, this was really disseminated by Catholicism originally. And, because before before we had that kind of individualized shame in other cultures, like say pre-Christian Ireland, yeah, there was a kind of honor code. If you stepped out of what was considered honorable, you were shamed for that. So it was kind of an action. You did something wrong, so you were shamed for that to keep you in line. Again, insidious, potentially deadly. But
Mm.
this Western shame concept that has spread now with Westernization, Americanization, colonization, and originally through the Catholicism lens. This is I am bad. I'm just bad for existing. I'm born to be a sinner, and I have to forgive. Just think about that for a second. That is the ultimate double bind. You're a sinner for being born, and you have to forgive. It's hopeless. There's no way out of that.
Oh, well stated. That's powerful. Thank you for sharing that. I know we're getting on into this discussion. We probably only have about 10 minutes or so to go. I wanted to honor my promise that we would provide a link here in the chat room, and this will be for a PDF document that you can just go and download. You don't have to sign up or anything like that if you don't want to. That's fine, but you can certainly subscribe while you're there if you like. And we're going to put that in the chat right now. Thank you for staying this long. Really,
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it.
101 people. Pretty cool. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, that's awesome. I didn't see that. Thank you for pointing that out. This has been a lot of fun. I mean, gosh, there's so many directions we could go in this, but for me, I feel that we've covered the core message. We're working on getting this in the chat room. So I'm putting that in. So just give us half a second to make that happen.
I'm wondering if anyone has any questions. I'm just
Absolutely. If
looking.
you have questions, go ahead and
Anyone have any
ask.
questions that you want to ask me or ask Saul? Please put it in the chat, and we will definitely get to it if we can.
Absolutely. Thanks for doing that, for saying that, because that's we can double task here.
I'm just looking. Misuse says that's part of cult mentality. Yeah, with the whole system here, our whole culture is cult mentality. And what's happening, right versus left, us versus them, black versus white, white versus black, whatever it is. It's cult mentality. It's creating another hierarchy and another kind of narcissistic system. And that's what I talked about in one of my first pieces. Actually, it was about narcissistic empire and about how we're just putting templating another narcissistic system on the other, and it's fractal. It's so toxic. Yes, blame is shame. Yeah,
I'm so
they.
I'm so glad you get that, Emma. It's like, a lot of people look at my book, The World Cult and You, and they're like, why would I want to read that? Well, this is why you would want to read it, is to understand how these dynamics work and how the cult is a control apparatus for, first and foremost, the mind, and sort of the body and spirit in a secondary way flow from that. And the dynamics used heavily rely on shame and other forms of coercive thought policing.
Yeah, and shame is the kind of substrate that's necessary for you to start policing yourself. You need to feel there's something wrong with me. I need to stop myself from doing this. Yeah, shame is always control. I'm looking at Pam. This is the first question that I'm seeing. Is it possible to speak with you, Emma, about what I saw transpire in 2008 in medicine? I totally believe it was shame. Yeah, Pam, I'm not sure what you're talking about in 2008, but I would love to know more what you're referring to. Yeah, I think but so much of what we're being fed is really a lot more shame, constant shame and shaming. Because when you're in that shame place, you're very controllable. People can manipulate you easily, and you can't be authentic. When you're carrying shame, you can't be yourself because shame tells you you're not enough. You've got to hide yourself. So visibility issues, people afraid to, show up and shine their light and speak out in public or whatever the case may be. The reason why they're afraid of visibility is because of the shame. Visibility is again the symptom, not the problem. Uh, so yeah, if you want to rephrase that question, I'm happy to answer it, but I'm not sure what you mean.
Emma, could you
In
give
terms of-
your website again and how to contact you in case people would like to do so?
Yeah, you can trauma matrix at substack.com. So follow me over there. My DMs are open. Send me a DM. I do have, I'm starting a program where I work with people to kind of decommission shame and start breaking free from shame and teach people more about the system that has helped me to break out of the shame cage and the trauma matrix. And it's still a process, but this really is the once this was the wake this was the really the powerful point for me was realizing that shame is a parasite. We don't need it. It's absolutely useless. It's never helped. It does not motivate you. Doesn't make you better. It doesn't make you skinnier. It makes you worse. Watch that movie, The Substance.
The
That's
subs.
what shame does to you. Yeah.
Hey, I wanted to let people know I did put a long link because it's a secret draft link, so I don't know why it's so long, but it's in the chat and you'll need to copy and paste that, and then you can just go there and download the PDF. It's towards the top of the document. It says "Win by Not Playing" is the title of it, and you just hit the download button, and it should download right onto your desktop or onto your device. So if for some reason you have difficulty with that, you can write me via Substack. You can just message me and I can send you the link. Alternatively, I'll be publishing that in the next few days. I'm not sure what day, and you can just wait and download it when it's made available to the public. We'd wanted to give you the opportunity to get it tonight for being here in appreciation of that. But if it doesn't work out, you will be able to get your hands on it very soon. So there was another question there. My husband passed with many medical errors, found my voice and vocalizing my support. Thank you for the trauma matrix, and I'll look for you there. So that was
Thank you,
Pam
Karen.
Furno. Got it.
And yeah, I mean, I've had people reach out to me that have found me on YouTube, on podcasts, and they've followed the system. And the important thing is not just to be here and think, oh, this is great information. You've got to actually put it to use. You've got to actually because you've got to put it to use to stop the shame. So if you have shame attacks, use that break system. I work with people as well to break down the shame and release it because we don't shame. It's not a normal emotion. Don't process it. You either internalize it or externalize it. We need to release the shame and let it go.
And it's fascinating, just to back you up there, Emma. I just 2 days ago, I think it was, I published a kind of synopsis of this material, and it's a little video on my Activate and Alchemize YouTube channel, and the video is called "Want to Win: Just Walk Away from the Shame Game," and of course you're cited and all of that. But that has had more views than almost any video on my channel in recent times. I'm not saying it's a ton of views, but for my channel, actually, it's gotten a lot of views, and it's had like 68 likes on it in a couple of days. And so I know this message is resonating with more and more people.
Yeah, and it is. People who haven't even met have told me this has been life changing. So these are people that I haven't spoken to one to one. They've just put it into practice. So I really believe this message, and it's not even, it's bigger than me, Saul. It's bigger than me. This is this once getting out, once we as a collective step out of shame, this is our only hope. It's our only hope as humans to kind of survive and make things better in the world. This message can really change the world.
I here's how I feel. I feel so strongly about that, and it's one of the reasons I wanted to support your work as you're getting started here on Substack, because it is so powerful, so transformative, both personally and on a larger scale. I feel like that there are two things going on here. One is the need to do internal work to
Yeah.
heal, to be in the matrix, to have a positive impact on it or have a positive life in the matrix. And the other one is to do the work that's required to actually exit the whole dojo and move on to other pastures with your consciousness intact. And that's the whole concept of getting out of here alive. So in terms of quote unquote political activism, and I really don't mean it in the way most people mean it. If you want to do something in the real world that actually has a chance of benefiting yourself and the world, then do the shame work, do the break system,
Yes.
and see what you think.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I would
Absolutely.
suggest.
So, yeah. That's it. Shame is really the lowest frequency. It's that there's nothing lower. It's just one step up from death. So, and people listening, it's that it's not good for you. It doesn't help. It's the biggest lie ever sold to us as human beings. Animals don't need shame. That's why they don't transmit trauma from generation to generation. The difference with humans is we have trauma that passed down generation to generation because we have shame. Shame is the sticky fuel, the thing that makes it stick from one trauma stick from one generation to the next. So
Absolutely.
when we remove the shame, the trauma doesn't get passed down in the same way. There are other things to deal with, obviously, but shame is really it's really fundamental. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you're looking at like generational healing, this is the way to do it. And I would lend an epigenetic perspective here, and that is to say that you are removing one of the largest uh, damaging emotions to your health and well-being when you begin taking shame out of the equation, because what shame does is it basically sabotages your genetic expression. So it turns on
Absolutely.
genes that shouldn't be on and it turns off genes that should be on, and you get sick as a result in body, mind, or spirit. One way or another, it's harmful to actually tolerate shame in your life.
And the one thing that I would add as well, Saul, is that shame is not an emotion. It's not. It's an implant. It's something we have. We have relational recognition, signaling. All that stuff is in
So
mammalian.
since we're dealing with the apple, let's call it an eye motion.
Yeah, shame is the artificial implant on top of those normal
Yes,
mammalian
yes,
functions
yes.
that
I
we
like
have.
that.
So shame is all. If only humans have shame, and animals that are socialized around humans take it on too. But if you look at nature, the animals don't experience shame, and look at them; they're living in harmony. They have fights and things. They're not so messed up as us as a species.
Mm.
You have to recognize that. I think
That
it's
is so true. That is so
yeah.
true. Well, I want to thank you for your time, your expertise, your heart, your brilliance, really, and in doing what you're doing and in sharing it with me and our audience, and for letting me participate in developing some material in this last article. That was a real honor. Really appreciate that, and I want to just reiterate that you're at traumamatrix.substack.com, and I want to ask our audience to please like this video, help it get more popular. Please share it. Please go subscribe. Please subscribe to my channel too, solluckman.substack.com. And I don't know if this will be the last chat we'll have. Maybe not. Who knows? We'll see. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. But thank you
Yeah,
so much, Emma.
definitely. No, thank you, Saul. It's such a pleasure talking to you. It's such a pleasure talking to people who get it. Not everyone is ready for this information.
No, no,
People people who have the shame, who people will defend shame. I had
absolutely.
one person here on Substack was like, how dare you say we shouldn't have shame? We need to shame the pedophiles." And I'm like, well, that's worked out pretty well, hasn't it? We've been shaming pedophiles for how long now? And no, it didn't stop them. In fact, shame is a driving force for a lot of that, for so much abuse,
Thank you for pointing
including
that
sexual
out.
abuse.
I could not agree more. I just couldn't agree more.
It's a way for people, again, So this is why people who've been sexually abused often go on, or not just sexually abused, they go on to abuse someone else. That's another way. So they externalize their shame. So like their child, they externalize their shame onto them, and then they attack that person. Classic scapegoating. So we don't want to do that. That's how shame goes down through the generations. It doesn't help. It feeds the dysfunction.
Well, let's break the cycle, Emma. Thank you once again. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I'm going to end this live now, and until the next time.
Bye,
Be
guys.
well.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.